So here we are, once again, together on a very special day. And moments like these are times when we from Shishyaa choose to connect with you differently once again. We know we are here for the drama performance, and we've heard in different ways, in different stages, the significance of the drama. But I will once again choose this opportunity to expand this understanding a little more. Waldorf schools are known as schools who have a very unique method of learning, a method of teaching. We also say that the school is all about the curriculum, and the curriculum is all about experiences. So, drama happens to be one such instrument of learning for our children. While you have already understood that most of the times we receive the drama as a performance, this time I ask you to lend me your ears and your heart to understand a little differently. We have often heard the phrase, the verse, receive them in love, receive them with reverence, grow them in love, set them forth in freedom. These three lines of the verse actually refer to the way we receive children in the three different septennials, which is one of the fundamental principles of Waldorf education. The first septennial, we receive them with reverence. Second septennial, we grow them in love. But in the third septennial, we begin a very different journey. A journey of setting our children forth in freedom. Freedom sounds very free, but people who understand the word freedom will know that it is nothing but responsibility. When there is no one to tell you how to do what to do, you need to ask yourself how to do what to do. Our children of grade 8 have stepped into the third septennial. Some probably are knocking at the door. And within them stirred an immense need to express freedom, to celebrate freedom. And so we give them freedom. And they realized it is responsibility. So our children, when they went through the journey of the book that they studied as a part of the English curriculum, which is Pride and Prejudice, a period novel, they wanted to dramatize it. They have lived with these characters, understood the characters, really analyzed the characters, asked their questions about them, had their sets of judgments about them, until eventually they changed their decisions, thoughts, and ideas about them. So why was Pride and Prejudice chosen for these children? Adolescence is all about questioning. Not questioning so much the objects now, but actually questioning people. People who either support them or come in their way. It all depends on their state of mind. Either you are a parent who is supporting them, or you end up being a parent who is coming in the way. Either you are a teacher who is supporting them, or you are a teacher who's coming in the way. Oftentimes, it takes experiences for them to change these thoughts about the people around. Pride and Prejudice is filled with such moments. If you look at the name of the novel, Pride, with it comes prejudice. And so, this was a situation for children to really go through these characters, their lives, and meet the words pride and prejudice in it. Once again, they experienced something which they had experienced in childhood, the Ramayana and Mahabharata, where again, goodness prevails over badness. But while in that period of their lives, when they heard those stories, goodness and badness prevailed outside. In this period of life, in this story, goodness and badness lives within us. This is the real world. But how pride led to prejudice. But when pride crumbled, prejudice crumbled as well, and goodness prevailed. This was the journey of the story and why it was significant at this point of time. Now, is this drama just about this? Possibly that would make it a little trivial. So let me tell you the journey of the children. I told you that they wanted to do this drama, and the responsibility of the drama came to them. So what were the crafts that they actually touched upon? Designing and ideating and sourcing all the material. The costumes, props on stage and furniture. Well, some of you may have seen them write an appealing letter into the parent community asking for support by way of chairs and sofas and so on. That was a part of the design where they would have to write those appealing letters. After this event, we are going to showcase how the costumes were designed. Because the children put paper and pen together, they actually sketched these costumes, chose the color for themselves to identify with the characters. The jewelry, beg, borrow, steal, whatever works. The settings were their designs. The dialogues, they are closest to the original novel. So I am going to ask you to really be attentive, because this is not the English you speak today. So be with them to get them. The script, entirely written by them. And after a little while, they realized you can flow and flow, but time is a reality of this planet, and we need to bind ourselves within that. And so they let go of so much that they had put together on their own. Choreography, I won't say much. You will have to experience that. The alteration to the original script, that is the novel. If any of you know the story, have read it, you might experience slight alterations to characters and settings and situations. Well, that is because a whole novel in about an hour. The acts and scenes. The story has been broken down into 4 acts. Every act ends with the closing of the curtain. Every scene transitions with the dimming of the light. All this is actually designed by them. The characterization, the casting, the appearance, everything. Now, apart from all this, what else? Well, Waldorf education couldn't be just so explicitly overt. It has to be implicit. It has to be inert. It has to be talking to the subtle layers that live within each of us and also within our children. So they learned a lot more than their dialogues. They learned to handle collaboration or handle the lack of collaboration. They handled shock. Illnesses happened. Absences happened. Inter-emotional battles happened. Dismantling of the script happened. Letting go of the favorite parts. It hurts, but that happened. Embarrassment of lack of preparedness happened, until that experience led to them lifting themselves up and putting themselves together to a very good performance, their own peak. That happened. Hopes, disappointments, all of this. When did all this happen? Every Waldorf school closes the year with a block which is dedicated to drama. It is chaos in the school. Any of the parents who have supported will tell you the stories of how chaotic it was in the school for this one block. But it is a method that we design in this madness. And that method lives in the children as a learning for years to come. So here it is, time to give your eyes and heart to the children who have just begun the journey of growing into an adulthood, but these are just their nascent steps, their toddler steps. So be with them. Thank you.
balls are the highlights of my life. Most importantly, it's an opportunity for the young girls and boys to meet each other. My, is it tea time already? Time flies by, doesn't it? I must have been out in our time of tea. We would gossip and share stories with our friends and family. The latter being said, I am compelled to tell you about the befuddling and successful day that I have been a part of in the past few years. It is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a vast fortune must be in a once in a while. Isn't that right, Mr. Bennet?
Yes, indeed, my dear.
Why is it that you never question what I've spoken?
You have taken up the task of telling me, and I have no objection in hearing it.
Well, Mrs. Long has just been here and informed me that Netherfield Park has been let at last by a young man of great wealth.
So?
Has this young man not intrigued you? Has it not struck to you that we have 5 unmarried daughters treading on my patience?
Well, all right. Who's the fine lad?
I've learned that his name is Charles Bingley, and he comes from the north of England. He's hosting a ball in a week's time. We must be there.
Well, that's great. But please put in a good word for my dear Lizzie.
How dare you abuse your children like that, Mr. Bennet? Kitty and Mary are such sweet girls. Lady has such a wonderful sense of humor. And my Jane is the most beautiful girl I've ever seen. All our daughters deserve an equal amount of attention and appreciation. But still, you favor Elizabeth. Oh, the rich and nobles of Netherfield were invited to the ball. I was too, with my daughters and their friend Charlotte. I entered the ball knowing that my prettiest picture, Jane, would charm Mr. Bingley with her idea. As soon as he laid eyes on my priceless Jane, I perceived that he had far long deemed her the most handsome lady in the world.
Come, Darcy. You ought to dance more. I hate it if you're standing by about yourself in this stupid manner.
I do not intend, nor do I wish to dance. Your sisters are occupied. There is no other woman in the room I'd like to dance with. For you're dancing with the most handsome lady here.
Why, yes. Miss Bennet is by far surpassing all the ladies here with the irresistible allure. Or she might just be the most beautiful creature I ever beheld. But my friend, one of sisters is sitting right behind you.
She is admissible, but not handsome enough to tempt me. I've none to you, my young girls, who are slighted by it. Go, return to a smile of your partner, dear friend. With me, you're wasting your time while the night is still young.
Greetings, Mr. Darcy, is it? I have no partner to dance with, and was still hoping you would cope with one.
I have no intent to dance, Miss Bennet. It simply distressed me now that I asked you to request another man for the courtesy of a dance.
Well, thank you, Mr. Darcy. Just a direct answer. I shall now do as you say.
My, the events went so well.
With Bingley?
Why, yes. The handsome Mr. Bingley danced with Miss Lucas for 2/3 and Miss King for 2/4. But he seemed quite interested in my Jane. He danced with her twice.
And if only he had any compassion for me, he would not have danced up so much. So please don't tell me more of his partners and with whom he danced. While this has sprained his ankle in the first dance itself.
You may be a grump if you want, my dear, but I was quite delighted with that young man. Oh, about so many events. I'm certain that we're all waiting in anticipation to witness what happens next. Well, later that week, us ladies in the Bennet household visit our dearest friends, the Lucas family. The young lady there He was a great peer of mine, Elizabeth. Together, we were discussing words about the ball.
Dear Jane, may I ask of your experience of the ball? I heard that Mr. Bingley kept returning to you manifold to propose another dance.
It went well, and
You're quite right. The young Mr. Bingley was flabbergasted by Jane's beauty. I'm sure he's never laid eyes on such a marvelous woman before.
Well, I shall depart for now. I must start preparing for lunch.
Oh, I shall join you as well.
Listen, if I may ask, why did you attempt in asking Mr. Darcy for his will to dance?
I did. He rejected me.
Why did he reject you? Jane found success in doing so with Mr. Bingley.
Mr. Darcy is nothing but aloof and arrogant. He danced with no one there, because they were all below his social standings, I suppose.
And any man would find the smallest of chances to spend with Jane,
Just because of her beauty.
but she is always so naive and oblivious to understand.
Charlotte, I need you.
Coming, Mama! Excuse me, my ladies. Mr. Bingley danced with me for more than just my beauty. He showed feelings for me. And if you were less expressive about your opinions, maybe a man would have done the same with you.
Well, all right. My, the drama, the suspense. Does Mr. Bingley really have any feeling and emotion for Jane? Well, the answer appeared a fortnight after the ball in the form of a letter.
Oh, Jane dear, this letter has been addressed to you. And it is sent by Miss Bingley.
Who is it? Let me have a glance. Jane has been invited to dinner at Netherfield this evening. The greatest of ideas has occurred to me. We can send Jane on horseback. We can borrow from the Lucases. Judging by the weather for the past week, it shall rain. And if Lady Luck is at our feet, Jane will fall ill and stay the night.
Not a single thought was given that Jane might fall critically ill. I worry over the well-being of our children. They don't get married soon.
Everything goes as was thought. But unfortunately, Jane admits to a slightly alarming illness and is forced to stay there longer than anticipated.
Mama, Jane has succumbed to a severe illness. Father, would it cause any harm if I leave for Netherfield this instant? No, but we don't. But there's no carriages available at this hour, and we send the only horse we knew with Jane.
I wouldn't mind walking to Netherfield. If I leave right away, I reach there by evening. Bye-bye. Thus speaking, she departs for Netherfield. She arrives on time, but the soggy earth caused by the night before Hannah seems to be covered with muck and dirt, hence making her appearance not quite as pleasant.
Elizabeth, please come in. Your sister is just upstairs.
But may I ask, what happened? You don't seem quite right. Those seams.
Well, I walked my way from Longbourn to get here. Due to the lack of transportation, you see. Upstairs, you say, I shall visit her this very instant.
Every lady and gentleman was shocked at the reaction. Some found it ugly, and some not. But Mr. Darcy, under all that arrogance, was impressed the most. He was intrigued by the love and determination Elizabeth had for her sister, but expressed nothing except gaze at her in admiration.
Jane! How are you, dear Jane? Lizzie, you came. This cold has been better for me for now. I might stay here for quite a...
Do not worry, Jane. I am here till you're well.
Come on. Let us go out in the gallery and get some sun. It might be good for you.
The next day, Jane's illness has still not left her. So, Elizabeth makes her way down to the hall. She sees Miss Bingley constantly flirting with Mr. Darcy. But failing.
I'm certain this elevates Mr. Darcy's feelings for my Elizabeth, but cannot express anything due to the differences in class standings. Later, Miss Bingley tries to walk with Elizabeth to grab a hold of Mr. Darcy's attention. But this backfires on her as Mr. Darcy and Lizzie start arguing.
So, Mr. Darcy, I take it that you did not dance with anybody at the ball?
Yes, indeed.
Were they all too low for your social standings? And is it just your goal to distance everyone?
I may despise many, but I do not willingly misunderstand my surroundings, such as yourself.
Come, Elizabeth. Let's go check on your sister.
Well, after a long 5 days, Jane is back on her feet. Everyone is delighted that she, along with Elizabeth, will return to Longbourn. Well, everyone except Mr. Bingley and I. Well, as they say, happiness never lasts forever. Only a few weeks later, we received a letter. A letter whose sender's arrival Mr. Bennet and I had dreaded ever since our marriage. It's happening, by God, we're doomed.
What is it, dear? Why is it this quiet?
Oh, Mr. Bennet, it's a letter for us, from him.
Mama! Papa! Why such bleak faces? What's happening? There's something that you are hiding. Tell us so that we can help. It's time I told you a concealed truth of what happened when I married your mother for her youthful beauty. When I married your mother, I wasn't the most stable man. And after our marriage, we didn't have any house of our own. So my brother, your uncle, gave this house we live in now. We're very grateful to him, but cannot help but fear that he would ask us to return this mansion. And regrettably, the day has arrived. My dear brother, may his soul rest in peace, has now passed this estate to his dear son, William Collins, who will be arriving in a week's time.
Come, my dears, let us prepare for his arrival. Come, it's a dreaded day. We must prepare for his arrival. Welcome, Mr. Collins. May I ask for your well-being?
I'm quite all right now. May I ask for you and my cousin's well-being?
Oh, you're all fine. Please, have a seat. As we sat down to talk, Mr. Collins started talking to us about his achievements.
Lady Catherine the Brew, my mistress and sponsor, such a generous woman, helped me a lot to get my job as a cleric. Lady Catherine the Brew. Lady Catherine the Brew.
Lady Catherine de Brew, you say? Who is she?
Who is she? Have you no clue? Well, my dear cousin, do you know of Mr. Fitzwilliam Darcy of Beverley?
Why, yes.
Well, my lady is his aunt, and the only seemingly close maternal figure to him and his younger sister.
Really? That is quite interesting.
Well, the food was amazing. Jane must be quite a cook.
She most certainly did not. We can afford a cook of our own. Well, that's wonderful. I was wondering if I could read to you all tonight.
So that night, we sat and heard him for almost an hour. He assumed we were interested. We were only trying to make him forget about the estate. Thankfully, Lizzie made an excuse that it's getting late and that we must stop. The following week, we received a letter that the militia would be in town the next morning. Me and the girls were excited about this. So many young men with well-doing fortunes. So the next morning, we found ourselves in the militia parade.
Oh, there's so many of them. It's so good. I could just fall on the ground.
I agree. Look at those uniforms. How charming.
I agree too. Who is that handsome soldier? He stands so apart from everyone else. Oh, him. He's the Venetian officer Wickham. Mr. Wickham, you say? I shall strike up a conversation with him.
Oh, the parade is over. Come, let's go.
Let's go and talk to him, Lizzie.
Greetings. May I ask for your good name, sir?
I am George Wickham of the militia.
I am Elizabeth Bennet, and this is my younger sister, Lydia Bennet. May I ask about your journey throughout the whole of England?
Oh, it was exquisite.
Oh, look, it's Mr. Tash and Mr. Bingley coming to us.
Greetings, Miss Elizabeth and Miss Lydia. Come and Miss Lydia. That's Mr. Wickham, right? I think we should go now. Come, Darcy.
What was that? Why was he staring at Mr. Wickham like that?
Miss Elizabeth, it appears that you know of Mr. Darcy.
Why, yes. I took part at another field's ball. I met him there. But you seem quite disturbed at seeing him. Why so?
Well, it's a long story. You see, my father used to work for his father, and we're good friends as well. But when Mr. Darcy's father passed away, he denied me the fortunes and the position that was bestowed upon me. His arrogance, in fact, he gave it to someone else altogether. His arrogance left me without my true position.
Those are my opinions on Mr. Darcy as well. He rejected me for a dance at the ball. In fact, he danced with no one there because they were all below his social standings.
How could someone reject a pretty lady like you?
Well, that gets over. But the next day, I was in for a surprise. For Mr. Collins asked me for Jane's hand in marriage. I declined, knowing that she was most likely going to get engaged in a few months. But I offered Elizabeth's hand in marriage instead. This was told to everybody in the house except Lizzie. Later, we got both of them into a room, and we were waiting right outside.
Miss Elizabeth, I have been at a pause for the past few days, and I've come to think of it that I should now just confess what it is. Miss Elizabeth, will you do me the honor of being my wife?
I must reject, but I cannot.
I know it's a lot to take in, and I will ask again. You see, I need to continue my work as a clergyman. I need to get married. And the first place I think of is my uncle and his 5 unmarried daughters. Since I'm to inherit this very estate, this will be an arrangement which will be beneficial to both our families.
I understand your hardship, Mr. Collins, but I sincerely reject.
How dare you reject him? Can't you see our estate is at risk? Mr. Bennet knocked some sense into this girl.
She did the right thing. She didn't know him nor love him. What's wrong with that if she decides not to marry him?
To take her side on this, Longbourn would have been completely hers, and one of the girls would have finally gotten married. I can't believe you did this, and
It's all right now. I understand that I have not been accepted by Miss Elizabeth and have to sadly announce my departure from Longbourn in the next few days.
On the day of Mr. Collins' departure, we were staying at the Lucas's house. Breakfast was done, and the crowd over there was muttering amongst themselves as if it were a normal day. But no one could have expected what was to come. For Mr. Collins proposed to Charlotte, a proposal she gladly accepted.
Charlotte, how could you? What happened? Mr. Collins is ridicule. And he's only been here for a fortnight. How could you know and love him so fast? Lizzie, I don't have time to be romantic. I am already being offered a comfortable home and a decent man. And that's a lot to be grateful for. But Charlotte, Lizzie, I'm 27 with no money, no prospect, and I'm already a burden to my family. So please don't judge me. Oh, I'll get it. It's a letter assigned to Jane. Let me have it. It's from Miss Bingley. Jane. What is it, Jane? What is it? Well, Mr. Bingley and Miss Bingley have left for London about a month ago to spend the winters with Mr. Darcy.
Yes, and? Mr. Bingley might not return because he's grown affection for Mr. Darcy's sister, Georgina Darcy. This cannot be. Jane getting projected? Miss Darcy must have come from a heaven to be more beautiful than you.
Mother, you are so misunderstanding. We had a connection. Well, I assume. Please, leave me alone.
Jane was heartbroken. The only thing she ever did for the entire week was sob her shattered heart out. After a week, my brother and his wife came to visit us. They invited Jane over to London to stay for a while, and I accepted, knowing that it would be good for her. It had been quarter of a year since Charlotte married Mr. Collins and became the mistress of Hunsford Parsonage. So, Elizabeth, being the good friend that she is, decided to visit them.
Charlotte! Lizzie, how are you? It's been so long. I'm quite fine. And how is Jane and Mr. Bingley doing? Have they accepted each other? Unfortunately, Mr. Bingley has other priorities. Oh, I understand. Mr. Collins, I apologize. I did not notice you standing about.
Oh, that's all right. Actually, I'm better than ever. It's quite all right. I am doing quite okay. Actually, better than ever. After I got married to my Charlotte, my work as a clergyman has improved a lot. Miss Lady Catherine the Brew is actually quite impressed with me.
Where is this mistress of your good self live?
Oh, she lives right a few blocks away at Rosings Park. In fact, I've been invited to go there tomorrow. If you're intrigued, you and Charlotte can join me as well.
Well, I see no sense in not going.
Oh, good. Then we leave at noon.
The next day went as it should have, but Elizabeth was in for a surprise.
Welcome, Mr. Collins and Miss Collins.
Elizabeth. Her name is Miss Elizabeth.
Mr. Darcy, what are you doing here?
I'm a guest here.
Miss Bennet, it appears that you're knowing of Mr. Darcy.
Well, I met him at Netherfield, you see. You may all have a seat.
May I ask of the family's well-being, Miss Bennet?
We are doing quite fine, thank you.
Miss Bennet, do you play the piano forte?
I apologize, ma'am. I'm quite poor at that.
That's different. Do any of your sisters do?
No, ma'am.
I see. Has your governess left you?
We've never had a governess.
5 daughters and no governess? Your mother must be a slave to education.
She certainly is not.
It's all so dull. Miss Bennet, please play the piano forte.
No, ma'am, I cannot. I apologize. I'm quite bad.
Miss Elizabeth, my lady demands it herself.
She's not bad at all. But practice is one's key to success. So Darcy, how is Georgina playing?
Very well indeed.
Good. She's always been up to her practice.
How was riding his line in Netherfield, Miss Elizabeth?
Are you prepared to hear the uncomfortable truth, Mr. Fitzwilliam?
Yes.
He dances with no one there. Even though there were many ladies unengaged.
I knew no one of my party.
Well, no one needs to be introduced at a ball.
Fitzwilliam, I need you.
The lady was calling. I will.
Miss Bennet, I must tell you that I do not have the skill of interacting with people like just met.
Well, maybe you can take your ladyship's advice and practice.
During her stay, Elizabeth frequently visited Rosings Park. One day, she struck up a conversation with Mr. Fitzwilliam.
Good day, Miss Elizabeth.
Greetings, Mr. Fitzwilliam.
I did not have the opportunity to complete the conversation with you last time.
You may go ahead.
Well, as you see, Darcy is not as bad as she assumed. He once had a friend. I'm afraid I don't remember who. He saved him from getting into a possible false marriage. His companion showed no love for him, and they were not in the best of state financially. Hence, Darcy thought it is just to advise his dear friend after that.
As Mr. Fitzwilliam spoke, Elizabeth could only think with rage and emotion about Mr. Darcy. But it was now confirmed that Mr. Darcy was the cause of the separation of Mr. Bingley and Jane. She paced in an angry and thoughtful manner. And suddenly, the man she detested the most at that moment arrived.
Miss Elizabeth, may I have a moment of your time?
You may.
I've come to a conclusion, against my better judgment, my better reasons. that I most ardently love and admire you. Would you please accept me in marriage?
I feel obligated by my sentiments to reject. I could feel any gratitude for you, but I cannot. I have never desired your good opinions, and you have bestowed them most unwillingly. The feelings which have prevented you from considering me thus far are the ones which will make this rejection a little bit difficult to overcome.
Is this all the reply I have the honor of receiving? Tell me, Miss Bennet, why do you reject me in such manner?
With such evident desire to insult me, you tell me that you like me against your better judgment, your character, and even your status?
I did not mean that.
But I have other reasons. You know I do.
What reasons?
Do you think I would ever marry the man who separated my beloved sister? Do not deny the fact that she influenced Mr. Bingley.
I don't.
Why would you do such a thing?
Well, it showed that your sister did not show any admiration for Bingley.
That's because she's shy.
Maybe to us. But Bingley himself was modest about it.
You suggested this to him. Is it merely because of Jane's lack of fortune? And she does not match up to Mr. Bingley's status?
No, of course not. Although the priorities were shown on Bingley's fortune.
Did my sister give that impression?
No.
Then what?
It was your mother, your 3 younger sisters, and even occasionally your father. I'm sorry, you and Jane are not to be counted.
What about Mr. Wickham? What excuse can you give for him?
Mr. Wickham.
You deny him the fortune he was meant to have.
Oh, Mr. Wickham and his fortunes. I'm sure they're fine indeed.
First you mistreat him, and now you're being sarcastic about it.
So this is your opinion of me, with all the pride you have inside you.
My pride. Ever since I met you, I saw all the hate, all the arrogance within you. That made you the last man I would be ever prevailed upon to marry.
Forgive me, madam, for taking up so much of your time.
After this shocking incident, Elizabeth was left with mixed emotions. She sobbed for a long time in her room. The next day, Mr. Darcy came again. He said no word and just kept a letter and left. Elizabeth sat down to read the letter.
Miss Bennet, I deeply apologize for the pain I have caused you. I will address Mr. Bingley about your sister. Please believe me, I only separated them as a worried friend. And as for Mr. Wickham, he did get his inherited fortunes, but he gambled it all within days. He asked for more, but I refused. He also tried to elope with my little sister Georgiana. But when he heard the news that he won't get a single penny out of Georgiana's inheritance of £30,000, he left her. She was merely 14 years of age, and her heart was broken. And please, do not share about Mr. Wickham with anyone, for Georgiana's name will be tarnished. I sincerely hope you have understood the consequences of my actions, and that I have cleared all misgivings.
What have I done?
After a week, Elizabeth left Hunsford. She went back to Longbourn, where Jane and the Gardiners were present. She went straight to Jane and told her everything that she learned. Everything, except about Mr. Bingley and her.
Oh dear, I knew Mr. Darcy wasn't bad at all. Yet, I wonder how could Mr. Wickham do such a thing?
Oh, Jane, I was wrong about everything.
I wish I could have seen my surroundings with less prejudice. What must I do now?
Oh, dear Lizzie, may all have fallen into depths for now, but all shall get better soon.
You truly have come a long way from your crestfallen state, dear Jane.
I appreciate it.
What is it, Jane? Oh, it's a letter for Lydia.
Oh, let me have a glance. Oh, I've been invited to Ministry officer for this summer. Oh, Mama, can I please go?
Of course you can.
I suggest not to.
Why not?
Why not? That wish gave independence.
Well,
While Lydia was invited by the militia for the summer, Elizabeth was invited by her aunt and uncle to go on a tour of the whole of England. Summer arrived, and both Lydia and Elizabeth left on their trips. Elizabeth, along with her aunt and uncle, stopped at Derbyshire, which is also the town where Mr. Darcy lives.
I've heard that Mr. Darcy's estate, Pemberley, is in town. And we do have the time to go and visit it.
I reckon not to.
Why not?
It's just that he's so rich.
Well, you should not be present over there. Men of great wealth do not stay stationary.
Well, all right.
They made their way to the mansion. Once they reached, they were in a shock.
For goodness sake, what is this?
It's quite the mansion indeed.
As they admired the mansion, they slowly drifted further in. Especially Elizabeth, who imagined herself as a mistress of Pemberley had she accepted Mr. Darcy's proposal. As she admired the mansion, she ventured further within and away from the Gardiners. Then out of the blue, Mr. Darcy arrived. He is normal at first, but then he spots Elizabeth. Elizabeth tries to escape, running away, but Mr. Darcy follows and catches up to her.
Miss Bennet, what do I owe to your visit at my humble residence?
Mr. Darcy, I did not mean to trespass. I just thought it was open for visitors.
Oh, you don't need to apologize.
Well, I must leave. We depart from Derbyshire tomorrow.
Tomorrow? Well, may I lead you out?
No, thank you, Mr. Darcy. I love to walk.
I know.
Goodbye, Mr. Darcy.
Upon the evening of Elizabeth's departure, Mr. Darcy went to visit her at the inn. But things were not quite right, for Elizabeth was still reeling in shock from the letter she held.
What happened, Miss Bennet?
My sister Lydia has eloped with Mr. Wickham.
That is quite bad indeed.
I'm sorry to have beared you such news, Mr. Darcy.
I must leave now. I have some tasks to complete.
Elizabeth and the Gardiners head straight for Longbourn. Both Jane and Elizabeth were regretful about not informing the others about Mr. Wickham. Mr. Gardiner immediately leaves in search of Lydia in Brighton. Later that week, we received a letter from Mr. Gardiner. Jane got it and read it.
Oh dear, Mr. Wickham is down in debts, and he asked for an income to marry Lydia. But don't worry, Mr. Gardiner has paid read that letter.
Let's check, Mother.
Yes.
A week later, Lydia and Mr. Wickham came to visit us.
Greetings, Mother, Uncle, and dear sisters.
Greetings, everyone.
It's such a great feeling to be married. Oh, my apologies. I forgot I told you I'm married. I'm even the youngest. Oh, Lacey, did you know Mr. Darcy was present in our wedding?
Mr. Darcy? What was he doing there?
I'm not sure. I don't have any clue of it. Come, Wickham, I'll show you around.
Dear Lizzie, wait. I had to tell you something. Mr. Darcy was present at the ball for a reason. He gave Wickham the money he desired. Without him, Lydia would have been single, heartbroken, and a shame to her family.
I see.
Elizabeth started to realize the amount of love Mr. Darcy had for her. Well, after a week, we received exciting news. Mr. Bingley was back in town. And as you guessed, the next morning, he came to Longbourn along with Mr. Darcy.
Good. How are you, Mr. Bingley?
Greetings, Lizzie.
Please, have a seat. Mr. Bingley and Jane were enjoying each other's company, whereas Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth were rather quiet. Then, the unthinkable happened.
May I have the privilege of speaking with Miss Bennet? Alone, please.
Of course. Everybody, into the kitchen.
Miss Bennet, the letter sent by my sister was a fake. She, Mr. Darcy, and I were in thought that you do not have any admiration for me since I was been away. But you proved us all wrong. But being the comprehensive idiot I have been, I must ask, Miss Jane Bennet, would you have the honor of accepting me in marriage?
Yes, 1,000 times yes.
I never thought this would happen, but it finally did. Jane is getting married. It was a quiet and peaceful night. The Bennet household was settling in for bed, when suddenly we received an unexpected visitor.
Who is it at this late hour of time?
What took you so long?
Sorry, my madam.
I wish to see Elizabeth Bennet. I believe she lives here.
Yes, she does. She's in the kitchen. Lizzie, you have a visitor.
I wish to speak to Elizabeth Bennet in privacy.
Okay.
Young lady, I'm aware of your affairs with my nephew.
Lady Catherine, Mr. Darcy and I have engaged in no matter such as that.
Regardless, he's going to get married to my daughter Anne. So I command you to stay away from him. Besides, a fan who cannot afford a governess will not be in the league of my nephew.
I see. Mr. Darcy has been more distant lately.
Do you think that Mr. Darcy would want to marry a woman such as lower standings? So, do everyone the favor by rejecting any sort of proposal made by my nephew?
I shall do no such thing. I have long held back my feelings for your nephew. This desire, I feel for no one but him. So no. For once in my life, I do not care about my social standing, and I will accept the man I have grown to love.
Now, Miss Bennet, you don't seem to know what you're saying. Let's even see if my nephew will ever even return to you.
Lady Catherine is outraged by Elizabeth's audacity. But Elizabeth is proud and stands for what she has said. A week later, Mr. Bingley arrives to spend time with Jane. And a further week later, even Mr. Darcy arrives. The air in the meadows is not as dense as it is around those two. There was a lot in the mind to be cleared. And strangely, both decided to take a walk in the meadows in the wee hours of the morning.
Oh, Mr. Darcy, I never got to express my gratitude towards you
For what, must I ask?
for helping my sister. If not for you, Lydia's reputation would have been tainted.
You do not need to thank me for that.
But why not? Helping Lydia for you meant helping Mr. Wickham. Why did you do it?
I did it for you, Miss Bennet.
Thank you, Mr. Darcy.
If your feelings haven't changed since last summer, do let me know. For mine have not. For one word from you is silently forever. But if however they do change, you would have to tell me. For they wish me in body and soul, and I deeply love you. And I do not wish to be parted from you.
Yes, they have.
And so it happens, both Elizabeth and Darcy are soon to be married. Along with Jane and Mr. Bingley. It was quite a surprise, but I, of course, knew about it. Mr. Bennet was the most oblivious one to this, but even he accepted them later on. In fact, if he cannot be much more of a tease to poor Darcy, he must say that Wickham is a favorite son-in-law. Later in the summer, both sisters are married, and Jane and Mr. Bingley have purchased a house near Pemberley, close to Elizabeth and Darcy's. Both sisters frequent each other with visits. Lady Catherine is outraged by this, but this is handled by Mr. Darcy. In fact, Georgina Darcy and Elizabeth have been rather close. As for Wickham and Lydia, they visit us many a times, only to ask for more money. But yet, even I cannot be more happy at the way things have turned out. For we always knew that love conquers all, and that it is a truth universally acknowledged that a single man in possession of a vast fortune must be in a want of a wife. Isn't that right, Mr. Bennet?
For once, my dear, I completely agree with you.
Well, that brings us to the end of this wonderful event. On behalf of Shishyaa School, I stand before you filled with immense gratitude for the resounding success of our annual drama event held here at the quaint and yet prestigious Maratha Sahitya Mandir. This is truly special, witnessing our children perform on a formal stage like this has been a dream come true. Not just for them, but for all of us. The excitement in their eyes, the confidence in their voices, the joy of captivating the audience. This wouldn't have been possible without the unwavering support of each and every one of you. So please give yourselves a round of applause. I would like to congratulate our Shishyaa school children, and words cannot express how proud we are of your performances. You embraced the stage with remarkable confidence and talent, captivating the audience with your heartfelt portrayals. Your dedication and tireless rehearsals truly shone through. You have our love and best wishes flooding your way. Give a big round of applause for our Shishyaa children. And to our ever-supporting parents, your unwavering encouragement for us and support to the children are invaluable. Thank you for fostering your child's passion for learning and for being their loudest cheerleaders. Your contributions go a long way in shaping the truly well-rounded individuals. One round of applause for all the parents. And to our beloved teachers, your tireless efforts and the invisible threads that wove this magnificent event together. Your guidance, patience, and unfaltering belief in children nurtured their enthusiasm and brought their characters to life. This phenomenal event is a testament to the collaborative spirit of the Shishyaa community. So one round of applause for all the teachers. Our Shishyaa community has not only given our children an unforgettable performance, but it has also fostered a sense of teamwork, perseverance, and self-belief. And this beautiful auditorium, the support staff, lights and sound, and everyone who supported Achilalji, Full Kumari Didi, a huge round of applause for all of them. As a community, I'm sure we all are committed to providing a platform for our children to showcase their talents, develop their confidence, and learn valuable life skills through magic of drama. Thank you for being a part of this extraordinary journey. Namaste.